Welcome to an extraordinary story. What you are about to experience is not merely history. It is a warning, a mystery, a transformation, a nightmare, and a lesson. This is the story of a boy born with every advantage: wealth, respect, and comfort. However, something shifted. He did not become a businessman. He did not become a leader in a conventional sense. He became the most hunted man in modern history. A name that could make the world stand still. Was a man who vanished from the public eye. For nearly a decade, a man the entire world wanted dead. But the true story runs much deeper. It isn't just about his actions. It's about how he became the person he was, how power and belief, pain and purpose, wealth and war can corrupt not just one individual, but shake the foundations of the world. This narrative will transport you from Saudi palaces to Afghan caves, from a life of luxury to one of hiding, from a young boy in a school uniform to a phantom in a secret compound. And crucially, as you listen, you will also be learning English. You will expand your vocabulary. You will grasp sentence structure. You will enhance your listening skills. Therefore, this video is not just about history. It is about your future. You will conclude this story understanding who Osama bin Laden truly was, and you will finish it smarter, stronger, and more proficient in English. So lean back, take a deep breath, because this journey will be unforgettable. Part 1. The Rich Boy Who Would One Day Shock the World. Let's travel back in time, not to 2001 or 2011, but to 1957. This was the year Osama bin Laden was born in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. He was not born into poverty, nor in a tent or a war zone. His life began in luxury. His father, Mohammed bin Awad bin Laden, was more than just wealthy. He was a construction magnate, one of the richest men in Saudi Arabia, and a man deeply trusted by the Saudi royal family. The bin Laden family, in essence, was like royalty without the royal blood. Picture palaces, private drivers, servants, extravagant food, and grand houses. This was Osama's world from his first breath. But herein lies the paradox. Despite his immense wealth, Osama was different. He was quiet, shy, polite, and serious. He didn't laugh boisterously. He never caused trouble. He was unlike the other children. Of affluence. He was educated at the Al Thaqr Model School in Jeddah. It was an institution for the elite, where wealthy families sent their sons to groom them for success. Yet even here, Osama stood out for his piety. While most boys were preoccupied with football and television, Osama devoted his time to reading the Quran and memorizing its verses. He was already beginning to believe that life demanded a higher purpose. Osama showed no signs of violence. He did not speak of war or killing, but he held a profound belief in Islam, not just in its practice, but in the concept of fighting to defend it. Teachers noted he would pose deep philosophical questions about religion. He would often sit in silence during lunch, lost in thought. He did not pursue girls. He did not skip classes. Outwardly, he appeared to be a normal, earnest boy. But within, a powerful belief system was taking root. By the time he turned 17, a monumental event shifted the world around him. In 1979, while Osama was still a teenager, the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan. This was a major global event, viewed by many Muslims worldwide as an assault on Islamic land. That was the moment Osama transformed. He resolved that he could no longer remain rich and silent. He chose to fight. He abandoned his comfort, his family. He left behind the air conditioning, the wealth, and the servants, and journeyed to Afghanistan. There, he trained alongside the Mujahideen, the Muslim fighters resisting the Soviet army. Initially, he was not a natural soldier. He was thin, not particularly strong, and certainly not a trained killer. But he possessed a powerful combination: money and belief. He leveraged his family's fortune to procure weapons, establish training camps, and recruit fighters. He began to accumulate influence, respect, and attention, and gradually his identity shifted. He was no longer just Osama the Saudi. He was becoming Osama the warrior, Osama the leader, Osama the ideologue. This is where it all started. Because in Afghanistan, Osama mastered the art of guerrilla warfare, forged connections with other extremist leaders, and began to see himself as chosen for a greater mission. He also witnessed something perilous: victory. The Mujahideen, with support from America, Pakistan, and others, ultimately drove out the Soviets. This victory instilled in Osama a dangerous conviction: if we can vanquish a superpower like the Soviet Union, we can defeat anyone. That belief would later send shockwaves across the globe. Part 2. The birth of Al-Qaeda, the foundation of global terror. By 1989, the Soviet Union had finally withdrawn from Afghanistan. The Mujahideen were victorious. They had defended their homeland. Many fighters returned to their homes. They went back to their countries, their families, and to peace. Osama did not. Why? Because for Osama bin Laden, this was never about a single war. This was not merely about the Soviets. This was about a grander vision. He believed if we defeated one superpower, we can defeat the next one. And in Osama's view, the next enemy was not the Soviet Union. It was the United States of America. Why America? It is crucial to understand this deeply, as this is where his mindset irrevocably changed. In the early 1990s, America maintained military bases in Saudi Arabia, Osama's homeland. They were stationed there to protect against Saddam Hussein following the Gulf War. But Osama was enraged. He held the conviction that no non-Muslim army should ever set foot on Islam's holy land, Saudi Arabia. He believed America was controlling the Middle East for oil and power, and that Muslim nations were becoming weak and corrupt by emulating the West. From that belief sprang his next dangerous ideology: if Muslim governments will not defend Islam, then we must fight ourselves. In 1988 or 1989, Osama formally established a new organization, initially small, named Al-Qaeda. What was the meaning of this name? In Arabic, it translates to the base or the foundation. For Osama, it was the foundation of a global Islamic army, comprising not just fighters in Afghanistan, but across the entire world. He commenced recruitment. Fighters flocked from Egypt, Sudan, Pakistan, Yemen, Algeria, Iraq, and beyond. Many were angry, frustrated young men, disenfranchised with their governments, impoverished, and easily swayed. But Osama was no longer just a fighter. He evolved into an orator, a strategist, a purveyor of dangerous ideas. He established training camps, primarily in Sudan and Afghanistan, taught his followers how to construct bombs, handle weapons, disappear without a trace, and most perilously, how to hate. Before September 11th, Osama and Al-Qaeda tested the world's resolve. Let's examine their early attacks, many of which are not widely known. 1992. Yemen hotel bombing. Osama's operatives bombed a hotel in Aden, Yemen. Their intended target was American soldiers, but they missed. Nevertheless, this marked the first official attack by Al-Qaeda. 1993. World Trade Center bombing, first attempt. A truck bomb detonated in the basement garage of the World Trade Center in New York. 6 people were killed, and over 1,000 were injured. While not directly executed by Osama, the perpetrators were linked to his network. This sent a clear message: America is now a target. 1998. U.S. embassy bombings in Kenya and Tanzania. 2 massive truck bombs exploded outside American embassies, killing 224 people and injuring thousands. This attack was unequivocally planned and executed by al-Qaeda. It was the moment the world awoke to the reality. This man is serious, and this group is global. 2000 USS Cole bombing. A U.S. Navy destroyer stopped for refueling in Yemen. A small boat laden with explosives rammed into its side. 17 American sailors were killed. Osama claimed responsibility. During this period, Osama began releasing video messages. You may have seen them. Him sitting in a cave, dressed in military attire, speaking calmly yet with profound anger. He spoke in Arabic, but the world translated his every word. He made declarations like, America is the enemy of Islam. We will continue to attack until they leave our lands. Jihad is the duty of every Muslim. But here is the truly terrifying aspect. He didn't sound like a raving lunatic. He spoke slowly, with the demeanor of a teacher. He would sometimes smile, teared, serene, almost professorial. This is why so many young, disillusioned men found him credible. He was not just killing, he was brainwashing. By the late 1990s, America recognized the danger Osama posed. They attempted to freeze his bank accounts, pressured Sudan and Afghanistan to cease protecting him, and even tried to bomb his camps with missiles in 1998. But these efforts failed. He remained elusive, continued training. He kept building his army, kept planning. And deep within the mountains of Afghanistan, Osama had begun orchestrating something so monumental it would alter the world forever. The plot for 9/11 begins. In late 1999 and early 2000, Osama assembled a special unit, later known as the Hamburg Cell. These were men from Germany, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia. He assigned them a mission: learn to fly airplanes, not to pilot them through the skies, but to fly them into buildings. They received training in Germany, Malaysia, and ultimately the United States. They enrolled in flight schools in Florida, Arizona, and other states. They led seemingly normal lives. No one knew their true plan. No one suspected a thing. Osama financed the entire operation. He issued orders from Afghanistan, and then he waited. In August 2001, Osama recorded a clandestine video. He smiled and declared, "Something big is coming. America will never feel safe again." And with that, he vanished into the mountains. Part 3. The Day the World Stopped. September 11th, 2001. It was a Tuesday, a normal, quiet, sunlit morning in the United States. People were preparing for work. Children were having breakfast. Flights were departing on schedule. The world seemed at peace. But beneath that tranquil surface, something unimaginable was about to occur. On this morning, Osama bin Laden's master plan, years in the making, would finally come to fruition. The plan that had conditioned 19 men for martyrdom. The plan that would make him the most feared man alive. Let's trace the events of that day, not from a distance, but step by step, minute by minute, just as they happened. 5:45 a.m., Boston, Massachusetts. The first two hijackers, Mohammed Atta and Abdulaziz Al-Omar, cleared security at Logan International Airport. They appeared like any other travelers, calm, silent, focused. They boarded American Airlines Flight 11, bound for Los Angeles. They had no intention of landing. Simultaneously, other teams of hijackers boarded United Airlines Flight 175, American Airlines Flight 77, and United Airlines Flight 93. 4 planes, 19 men, 4 deadly missions. 8:14 a.m. Flight 11 is hijacked. Aboard Flight 11, the attackers rose. They stabbed flight attendants and forced passengers to the rear. Mohammed Atta seized control of the cockpit. He redirected the plane southward towards New York City. At exactly 8:46 a.m., people on the streets of Manhattan looked up at a horrifying spectacle. Flight 11 slammed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. The impact was cataclysmic. The plane erupted on contact. The tower was instantly engulfed. In flames, glass, steel, and smoke rained down. Thousands of workers were trapped inside. Yet most people were still unsure of what had transpired. News anchors speculated it was a terrible accident. No one imagined it was terrorism. 9:03 a.m. the second impact. 17 minutes later, as the world watched in stunned disbelief, Flight 175 approached. This aircraft smashed into the South Tower live on television. Now, there was no doubt. This was no mistake. This was not an accident. This was a coordinated attack. In that singular moment, the entire world was altered. 9:37 a.m., the Pentagon is hit. Meanwhile, Flight 77 was flying low near Washington, D.C. It crashed into the Pentagon, the headquarters of the U.S. military. The building exploded. Walls collapsed, blowed into the air. The heart of America's defense was on fire. 9:59 a.m. The South Tower collapses. The South Tower struck second, suddenly gave way. Just 56 minutes after impact, It crumbled in a storm of smoke, metal, and screams. People fled through the streets as the ground trembled. Emergency responders were buried. The New York skyline was vanishing. 10:03 a.m. Flight 93 crashes in Pennsylvania. The fourth plane, Flight 93, never reached its intended target. Passengers, having received news via their phones, they understood what had happened to the other planes. They fought back, storming the cockpit. The hijackers crashed the plane in two. A field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Everyone aboard perished, but their heroic actions likely saved the U.S. Capitol from destruction. After burning for 102 minutes, the North Tower also collapsed. New York disappeared beneath a shroud of smoke. Ash blanketed the streets. Firefighters cried out for help. People were coated in dust, appearing like ghosts. America's most iconic buildings were gone. In total, 2,977 innocent people were killed. Victims from 90 different countries lost their lives. It was the deadliest terrorist attack in human history. As the world watched the news, searched for loved ones, and wept in silence, Osama bin Laden was in Afghanistan, concealed in the mountains, did not speak at first, not taking public credit. He waited, wanting the world to steep in fear before he made any admission. But behind the scenes, he was celebrating. According to his associates, he remarked, "America is weak. We hit them in the heart and they fell like a house of cards." Later, a video not intended for public release was discovered. In it, Osama laughed, as he described how the towers fell even better than he had imagined. That video provided undeniable proof. He was the mastermind. America transformed overnight. Flights were grounded. The military was placed on high alert. Families searched for bodies. People scrawled the names of the missing on walls. And that very evening, U.S. President George W. Bush addressed the nation, declaring, "We will make no distinction between the terrorists who committed these acts and those who harbor them." The United States swiftly determined that Osama was hiding in Afghanistan. Under the protection of the Taliban, the country's strict Islamic ruling body, America issued an ultimatum: surrender Osama bin Laden or face war. The Taliban refused. And thus, the war on terror officially commenced. On October 7, 2001, less than a month after 9/11, America, alongside allies like the UK, initiated bombing campaigns in Afghanistan. The objective was clear: destroy the Taliban. Kill or capture Osama bin Laden. Crush al-Qaeda. But Osama was already on the move. He knew the mountains. He knew the caves. He had money and protection. So as American bombs fell on Afghan soil, Osama vanished. He hid in Tora Bora, a mountainous region honeycombed with caves. He moved with stealth, using secret tunnels and paying locals for their silence. Even when U.S. forces closed in, he escaped. And just like that, Osama bin Laden became a ghost of the mountains. For the next 10 years, the world would hunt for him. But he was gone, watching, waiting, and still believed to be lethally dangerous. America was prepared to do anything to find Osama bin Laden. The world's most powerful military had deployed. To Afghanistan, thousands of soldiers scoured every cave, valley, and village. But he had vanished. Not dead, not captured, simply gone. The man who had toppled buildings in New York was now concealed somewhere in the rocks and dust of Afghanistan. Let's now uncover every move Osama made during his 10 years in hiding. How the CIA pieced together the puzzle, bit by bit, until they located the unfindable. In December 2001, American troops made a significant discovery: a network of deep caves in the Tora Bora Mountains. Near the Afghanistan-Pakistan border, they were convinced Osama was inside.
He was.
U.S. jets dropped massive bombs. Special forces meticulously searched cave after cave, aided by Afghan fighters. But Osama slipped away, likely through clandestine tunnels, possibly on foot or by mule, across the snow-covered mountain passes into Pakistan. It was a perfect escape. And from that point on, the trail went cold. Years after September 11th, America presumed Osama was still somewhere in the tribal regions between Afghanistan and Pakistan. The CIA. In collaboration with Pakistan's intelligence agency, the ISI searched relentlessly. They combed through caves, villages, they analyzed phone records, satellite imagery, and human intelligence. But nothing yielded results. Osama had become a phantom. No phone calls, no internet activity, no travel. Number. Trace. Occasionally, audio or video recordings would surface. In them, he would speak about the war, America, and Islam. But he never revealed his location, and by the time the videos were authenticated, he was long gone from that spot. Let's examine how Osama survived undetected for nearly a decade. No electronic communication. He avoided phones and emails entirely. All his messages were hand-delivered by trusted couriers. 2. No digital footprint, no internet usage, no social media presence. No photographs. His face became invisible to technology. 3. Safe houses and secrecy. He rotated between various safe houses across Pakistan. These residences were typically in quiet towns, far from major cities or airports. 4. Loyal inner circle. Only a handful of individuals knew his whereabouts. These people were fiercely loyal, deeply religious, and believed he was on a holy crusade. Even while in hiding, Al-Qaeda continued to function. They inspired new terror cells in Iraq, Africa, and Southeast Asia. They claimed responsibility for the 2004 Madrid bombings and the 2005 London bombings. They released messages through Osama and his second-in-command, Ayman al-Zawahiri. Al-Qaeda had evolved beyond a mere group. It was now an ideology, spreading across borders, fueled by hatred and powered by Osama's legend. Though invisible, his influence was alive and growing. After years of dead ends, the CIA altered its strategy. They ceased looking for Osama directly. Instead, they began hunting for the people in his orbit, his messengers, bodyguards, and couriers. One name in particular stood out: Abu Ahmad al-Kuwaiti. He was a trusted courier known to deliver Osama's messages. For years, the CIA tracked him, monitoring phone calls, emails, and movements. Slowly, they constructed a profile of his life. But no one could pinpoint where he was going. Till one day in 2010, something finally broke. The CIA discovered that al-Kuwaiti was residing in a quiet town in Pakistan named Abbottabad. But it was the house he lived in that captured their attention. It was not a normal residence. It was peculiar. It was hiding something. Let's describe it in detail. It was a 3-story structure, encircled by high walls. The compound lacked internet and phone lines. It was fortified with barbed wire, 2 security gates, and had very few windows. Even the garbage was not taken outside. It was burned within the compound's walls. Inside lived numerous children and women, but the family never ventured out. There were no visitors, no social interactions. The neighbors found it suspicious, but never reported anything. Why? Because in that part of Pakistan, people tend not to ask too many questions. Through weeks of surveillance using satellites and local informants, the CIA observed a tall man pacing on the 3rd-floor balcony, always alone. He never left the compound. He never spoke to anyone. He appeared to be in command. But they had no photograph. They had no definitive proof. Still, the CIA became convinced this could be Osama bin Laden in 2010. U.S. President Barack Obama was briefed. His intelligence team reported, "We have located a house. We believe Osama may be inside." But they were not 100% certain. The risks were immense. What if it was the wrong person? What if it angered Pakistan? What if the mission failed? But Obama made a decision. If this is him, we will go in and get him. Cannot wait any longer. Thus, they began planning the most secret and perilous military operation in modern history. In a top-secret facility, a team of experts constructed a full-scale model of the Abbottabad compound. They studied the building's structure, wall heights, room layouts, and potential escape routes. They handpicked the finest soldiers from SEAL Team 6, the most elite unit in the U.S. military. For months, they trained, using an exact replica of the compound, rehearsing every entry, every door, every room. This was not a war. This was a surgical operation. Everything had to be silent, swift, and final. The operation was codenamed Operation Neptune Spear. On April 28, 2011, Obama was informed, "Sir, we are ready." He gave the order, "Go," but no one outside the White House had any knowledge. Not Pakistan, not the media, not even most of the U.S. military. The operation had to remain a complete secret. Because this wasn't just about killing Osama. This was about sending a message to the world. You can run, you can hide, but we will never stop looking. Part 4. The night they found him. The raid on Abbottabad. The date was May 1st, 2011. But in Pakistan, it was night. A peaceful, quiet evening in the small city of Abbottabad. Children had eaten dinner. The lights in most homes were out. The neighborhood was sound asleep. But far above that serene silence, unseen in the sky, something was approaching. 2 black helicopters, stealth-modified Black Hawks, sliced through. The night they carried 23 Navy SEALs, a translator, a combat dog, the weight of years of pain, training, and planning. These men were from SEAL Team 6, the elite American unit entrusted with the world's most dangerous missions. Their destination: the mysterious, high-walled compound on Cockle Road in Abbottabad. The very place the CIA believed was concealing Osama bin Laden. 12:30 a.m. the helicopters arrive. The mission commenced in absolute silence. The helicopters flew low, using the mountains as cover, having entered Pakistani airspace without permission or announcement. Inside the aircraft, the SEALs performed final checks on their weapons. Night vision. Goggles were engaged. No one spoke. They were without backup. If the mission went awry, no one was coming to their aid.